Thank you very much, Edge Connection, for having me, and thank you to all of you for getting up extra early today. I'm going to share my personal journey to success with you, but I have to throw a disclaimer in there because my journey includes the words Spanx, crotch, and G-string. So for the men in the room, brace yourselves. About 15 years ago, I remember I was sitting in a convention. I was a fax sales rep, and with the company I worked for, Danka, I was there because I was one of the top sales reps in the country. And at that point in my life, I had always wanted to be a lawyer, but I basically failed the LSAT. I'm not a good test taker. So I found myself, after that, driving to Disney World and trying out to be goofy with my college degree, making my family very, very proud. And unfortunately, you have to be 5'8" to be goofy, and I'm 5'6", so they made me a chipmunk. And that didn't work out, so there I was selling fax machines door to door, sitting at this convention, and this larger-than-life speaker got up on stage, and he said, "I'm going to prove to you today in 4 words that there is no such thing as a bad idea." And he continued on to go, "Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles." So I never in my wildest dreams could have imagined sitting there that 5 years later I would come up with an invention and be able to prove to the world in 2 words that there was no such thing as a bad idea. And that is footless pantyhose. It all started with my own butt. I did not like the way that it looked in white pants. So just like so many women out there, we struggle on what to wear under things. There are traditional shapers that were too thick and left lines and bulges. There was underwear that leaves a panty line. And then along came the thong, which still completely confuses me because all that did was put underwear exactly where we had been trying to get it out of. So I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I cut the feet out of control top pantyhose, threw them on under my white pants, looked fabulous, felt great, but they rolled up my legs all night. And at the end of that night, I went to a party in Buckhead. I said to myself, I have got to figure out a way to create this so that it stays down on the leg. I didn't know what to do. Like I had mentioned, I'd never taken a business class before. I was working selling fax machines during the day. I ended up getting on the internet and looking up hosiery mills. And I went to a website called thomasnet.com, where I found a list of all U.S. manufacturers, and I literally went down the list finding hosiery and shapewear and started calling each one of them on the phone. Well, I did this for about 6 to 8 months, and everybody said the same thing, which was basically no. I believed in my product. I still wanted to get it made, so I started going to all the local craft stores here in Atlanta. I went to Michael's, I went to Hancock Fabric, and I started making homemade versions of my idea, buying little stretchy elastic lace, paper clipping them, sewing them to the ends of the pantyhose. I needed it to stop just below the knee because that way it was invisible on your thigh and you got all the great shaping under your pants. At the same time that I'm trying to get this made at the manufacturers, I decide, you know what, I believe in this idea, I want to patent it. So I ended up calling, I went on the internet and I looked up at Martin Hubble, 3 A-rated law firms here in Atlanta. I called them on the phone, I said I'd like to make an appointment. I took my lucky red backpack and I went to each one of the calls. And the first one that I went to later admitted to me that he thought my idea was so bad that he thought I had been sent by Candid Camera. So you can imagine I'm presenting to him my footless pantyhose and telling him how I'm going to change the world one woman at a time, and he is looking around the room during my entire presentation, apparently for the hidden camera. And they all quoted me between $3,000 and $5,000 to patent my idea. And I had $5,000 total in my savings to do this idea, so I decided to write my own patent. I went to Barnes & Noble on Peachtree Drive, and I bought a book called Patents and Trademarks, and I started writing my own patent. At the same time that I'm writing it, I'm still determined to get it made, so I take a week off of work and drive around North Carolina and go in person to all the manufacturers that had been telling me no thanks on the phone. So there I went, I got my lucky red backpack, drove up to North Carolina, went from manufacturer to manufacturer, and I would hear the same 3 questions every time, which was, "And you are?" And I would say, "Sarah Blakely." And they'd say, "And you're with?" And I'd say, "Sarah Blakely." And they'd go, "And you're financially backed by?" And I'd go, "Sarah Blakely." And they'd go, "So nice to meet you. Good luck with your idea," and walk me to the door. And it was about 2 to 3 weeks after I did that road show where everyone told me no again in person that I got a phone call from a manufacturer in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he said, quote, "Sarah, I have decided to help make your crazy idea." And when I asked him why he had the change of heart, he simply said, "I have 2 daughters." Lucky for me, ran it by his daughters. They said, "Dad, it's a brilliant idea. You got to help this girl make it." And that set me on my way of trying to get it made. Now, as a consumer, it had never dawned on me that men were the ones making all of our undergarments. But it kind of dawned on me that maybe that's why they've been so uncomfortable for so long, because the people making them were not spending all day in them, and if they were, they certainly weren't admitting it. So it caused some challenges in the beginning because everyone that I was talking to was a man, and I'm trying to explain, no, it's not just about being footless, it's about right here. It's making things look better and smoother and no panty lines. Well, through the process, I learned 3 very interesting things that stood out to me as a consumer. One was the industry had been taking an average waistband size between a small and an extra large and putting that same waistband size on every single product in order to cut cost in production. So I immediately said, nope, that does not make sense. That's why we're cutting our waistbands. That's why we can't breathe. So with Spanx, if you're a small, you get a small waistband. If you're a large, you get a large waistband. It fits and makes the garment stay and work with the woman's body much better. The second thing was the way that they did the sizing was very interesting to me. They have plastic forms. And they would say, this is plastic form small, this is plastic form medium, large, and etc. And they would make the garment and then put it on the plastic form, and they would all stand back with their clipboards and go, yep, that's a medium. And I would nudge them and say, ask her how she feels. So I remember very quickly, I'm going to test all of my Spanx products on women. I test them on my mom, my grandmother, my friends, and I have them wear the products, and we still do this. We have a lot of women that work at Spanx. They wear the products. The men at Spanx, their wives wear it, and now the men at Spanx also will wear the products. And they're very honest. We get feedback over time. We don't just put it on a form and say it fit, it stays. And the last thing was just overall the yarns and the way that the machines were working. I found that it really took a lot of technical time to make the fit and the product stay, and you want more compression in certain areas and not so much in the other. And the industry had kind of just been making things all one compression, which didn't necessarily work as well with the woman's body. So I took all this in. I'm still trying to get my product patented. I call up the lawyer that laughed and thought I was on candid camera. I said, I've basically made the garment. Will you please help me write the claims? I've written my entire patent. I had my mom, who's an artist, do the sketch that's in the patent that's still on the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's website. And she actually sketched it in our living room at home. I went home for a weekend, and I was the model. I stood there in the product, and that's what we did for that. So I had done basically everything I could except for the claims, which is when you have the real legal need to write the claims portion of a patent. I ended up calling him. He said, Sarah, I still don't get this idea, but you're so passionate about it. For $700, I'll do it over a weekend. I said, great. So he spent the weekend doing it, and on that Monday he called me and he said, I just need to speak to the person at the manufacturer that you've been closely working with so I can find out exactly what the technical aspects are of this garment. I said, no problem, that's Ted. So Ted and I had been spending a lot of time working together for the past year. I'd been driving up there at night and on the weekend trying to get the prototype just right. Well, I got to tell you, Ted was very Southern. I mean, when I say Southern, I mean real Southern. So we get Ted on the phone. I introduced, we're doing a three-way call. I said, Ted, this is my attorney. Can you please tell us exactly what's in the Spanx garment? And he said, yeah, there's 70% nylon and 30% lacquer. Okay, thanks, Ted. So my attorney and I are taking notes furiously. I thank everybody. We hang up the phone. And the night before I'm going to submit my patent to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, I can't sleep. I remember sitting up thinking, how does this product have lacquer in it? So the next morning, I called Ted, and I said, Ted, can you please spell lacquer? And he said, sure, L-Y-C-R-A. Oh my God, Lycra. Okay, thank you, Ted. So I called my attorney, I said, get on your computer and hit all change on lacquer, it's Lycra. And he started laughing so hard, he goes, Sarah, do you know how fast you would have gotten a patent trying to make pantyhose out of paint thinner? So I went online and I trademarked the word Spanx at uspto.gov, and it cost me $300 on my credit card. And then I also incorporated online at incorporate.com, and I put my credit card in, and that was $150. And the word Spanx is interesting. It came to me after thinking of really bad names for about a year. I knew I wanted my product to have a fabulous name. I just didn't know what it was. And sitting in traffic in Atlanta, I remember the word Spanx came to me across the windshield, and I literally pulled off the side of the road, wrote it down on a piece of paper, and I knew it was it. I went home that night, and I actually got online and trademarked it. At the very last minute, I changed the KS to an X because I had done research and knew that made-up words do better for products than real words do, and they're also a lot easier to trademark. Now, how did the word Spanx come to me? A lot of people ask. After many, many bad names running through my head, one day I decided, okay, Kodak and Coca-Cola are two of the most recognized names in the world. What do they have in common? They both have a strong K sound to them. And someone told me that the man who came up with the name Kodak, it's a made-up word, and he actually took the K, because he liked the sound of it, and put it at the beginning and the end of the word and played with letters in the alphabet. I also have friends that do stand-up comedy, and it's a weird trade secret among comedians that the K sound will make your audience laugh. So I put all that together, and I decided the K sound was good luck, and the minute I thought that, the word Spanx came to me, and I knew it was right. As far as the packaging goes, what was I going to do? I knew I needed to do something different. I am a consumer. Everyone is a consumer of an idea they come up with. You know what you like and don't like in the space that you've been buying. And for me, I go into the hosiery shapewear department, and it's a sea of beige and gray. Every package looked the same. It was the same half-naked woman that had been photographed on every package for the last 20 years, and you had to read the fine print in the upper left-hand corner to figure out what was going on. So I knew that I wanted my package to be bold, be different. If I got that chance for shelf space, it needed to stand out and say, I'm new, I'm different, check me out. I had no money to advertise. So I chose red, which was extremely unconventional. No one had ever done red in the hosiery or shapewear space. And I did something no one had ever done either. I put 3 cartoon illustrated looking women on the cover. And the 3 women were very different looking. And no one had ever done that either. It had always been photography on the front of the package. I worked on this package at night and on the weekends at my friend's computer for about 3 months. And when I got it just right, just how I wanted it to be, and I didn't have any guidance, I just thought I want it to be something pretty that I would want to buy. I kind of want this to feel like a present to myself instead of a commodity I'm dreading to buy. I ended up taking it, putting it down in my apartment and saying, it's perfect, but what if there's supposed to be something on here for legal reasons that I don't know about? So I went to Bloomingdale's and a few different stores, and I bought 10 different pairs of pantyhose, And I came back to my apartment, and I put every single pair on the floor. And I remember looking, and if the same thing was on all 10, I remember thinking, it must be legal. So I added it. Then once I had my packaging, the prototype, I was ready to go. I had my name. I called Neiman Marcus. And the Neiman Marcus here in Atlanta kind of laughed and said, well, Sarah, there is a buying office and it's in Dallas, so why don't you call that number? So I called the Dallas Neiman Marcus and asked for the buyer and said, I'm Sarah Blakely. I invented a product that's going to change the way women wear clothes. If you give me 10 minutes of your time, I will fly there and show you. And she said, if you're willing to fly here, I will give you 10 minutes. I jumped on a plane, and despite the pleas of my friends, I took my lucky red backpack from college. My friend said, please, Sarah, you cannot go to the Neiman Marcus headquarters with that old red backpack. Anything. Buy a Prada bag. Return it the next day if you need to. Do something. But I took a really deep breath, and I remember thinking, this is my lucky red backpack. I have to bring it. So I jumped on the plane, and off I went. And I'm sitting in front of the most impeccably dressed woman. I mean, even her pen was fabulous. And I was shaking. I had my footless Spanx in a Ziploc bag from my kitchen, and I had a color copy of the packaging I had created on my friend's computer. Halfway through my presentation, about 5 minutes into it, I don't know if it was nerves or just no shame or this was my shot, I just took a deep breath and said, you know what, you need to come to the bathroom with me. She kind of went, excuse me? I said, just please come to the bathroom with me. I'm going to show you what my product can do. And she followed me into the bathroom, and sure enough, I did my own before and after for her, and instantly she got it. And instantly she said, Sarah, this is brilliant. I'm going to try it in 7 of our stores. I was beyond excited. I got in the rental car, and on my way to the airport, the first call I made was to the manufacturer and the mill owner in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I said, Sam, it's Sarah. I need more. He said, excuse me? I said, I need more Spanx. I just got off with Neiman Marcus, and they want to order it, and we have to ship it to 7 stores. Dead silence. I said, Sam, are you there? He goes, Sarah, I have to admit, I thought you were going to give these away as Christmas gifts and presents for the next 5 years. What do you mean Neiman Marcus wants it? I said, Neiman's just placed a big order and I need more. And he said, well, okay, congratulations. Let me patch you through to Ted. So Ted picks up the phone. I said, Ted, it's Sarah. I need more Spanx. And he said, well, that's great, but what you going to do about the crotches? Excuse me? Don't they come with crotches? He said, well, yeah, but we only got 2 crotch machines and they're being used by somebody else. Okay, let me get this straight. I just landed Neiman Marcus and I have no crotches? I don't know where to go for a crotch. I looked in the yellow pages, under crotch. It's not there. So then I found out that there's a fancy word for crotch, which is gusset, which helped my search. And I was on the phone, and my roommate at the time would laugh because we would have these FedEx packages arrive every day from all over the world, and she'd come home, she was a teacher, she'd come home and go, got another crotch in the mail. And lucky for me, the company I ended up using was right down the road in Norcross, Georgia. And they, to this day, provide us with our gussets. And just to make the story even that much more unbelievable, the man that saved the day was an 80-year-old man by the name of Gene Bobo. Kind of a legend in the business. He said, Sarah, I got your crotches for you. They'll be there in time for the Neiman Marcus order. And I was able to ship to the 7 stores. Well, I immediately called every friend I ever remotely had in those 7 cities and said, hi, it's Sarah. Do you remember me? We sat next to each other in 4th grade. Can you go to the store and say you're looking for something called Spanx and you've been wanting it your whole life and I'll send you a check? Well, just as I was running out of money and friends, Oprah called. I had sent a gift basket of my very first batch of prototypes to the Oprah Winfrey Show, and I get the call that Oprah has chosen Spanx as her favorite product of the year. You can imagine, for an entrepreneur with no money, I'm sitting in my apartment, that's a call of a lifetime. I was beyond thrilled. They said, Sarah, in 2 weeks, Oprah's going to hold up Spanx. She doesn't normally have people on the show because it's all about product, but she loves what you're doing. You've broken into a $2 billion male-dominated industry with no experience and no money. We want to show a little clip about what you're doing, so we're going to fly down and film you. I said, great. So they all showed up at my apartment, and there were about 10 of them. They were so impressive, clipboards, video cameras, big lighting. And they said, Sarah, on the plane, we decided that we want to film you in your headquarters. I said, you're here. They kind of looked at each other and went, oh, okay, okay. Well, we also decided on the plane that we want to film you having a staff meeting. Hold on a minute. I called Connie that I'd met at Mailboxes, etc. I said, Connie, it's Sarah. Can you be at my apartment in 5 minutes and look like you work for me? She said, I'm on my way. And I also called all my friends who left their jobs and came over, and we sat in a circle on the floor of my apartment, and that was my staff meeting on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So one day you wake up and you're an inventor, and then all of a sudden, another day you wake up and you're a company. That's a different feeling. I remember it very well. My only employee at the time was my boyfriend, who was a healthcare consultant. He was watching me stay up all night shipping pantyhose around the world. He said, you need help. He left his job. Then my second employee was a friend of a friend who heard I needed an assistant because I couldn't manage my scheduling and flights and booking this and going and doing appearances to try to spread the word and all that was going on in the company. So she came on board, and after 2 weeks of being my assistant, I said, do you want to be my head of product development? And she said, sure, and she still is. And the third one was a friend that I went to walk to get a bagel with, and she said, I've tried your prototype. It's amazing. I love it. She told me the whole walk there and the whole walk back why she loved it. I said, do you want to be my head of PR? And she did. And about a month into the business, Dave and I mostly, we were at 2 cardboard tables at the back room of my apartment. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. And the phone would always ring, and we would say, hello, this is Spanx. And they would say, I need to speak to shipping and handling. We'd go, please hold while I transfer you. And I literally ran the business out of my apartment for 1.5 years. And a few months in, of course, what's the next thing that we decide to do? I look at my team, my robust team of 3, and said, I'm going to Europe. I've got to bring Spanx overseas. So I grabbed my lucky red backpack, jumped on a plane, cold called Harrods, Harvey Nicks, and Selfridges, and I got a chance to be on the BBC, which is basically the US CNN. And the gentleman that was interviewing me, 1 million people, no pressure, Sarah, he starts out and goes, so Sarah, tell us what Spanx can do for women in the UK. I said, well, it's all about the fanny. It smooths your fanny, it lifts and separates your fanny, and this man lost all the color in his face. And I had no idea, but apparently fanny means vagina in England. Oops. Obviously, I had to call back to our team and say our international expansion is off to a great start. And from there, Spanx is now 10 years old. We just had our 10-year anniversary. So much has happened in the 10 years. We had a company meeting, and I said at the meeting, 10 years ago, no one had ever heard of an iPod. People were not using BlackBerries. The Kardashians were in 5th grade. Spanx went from 1 to over 100 employees. We launched from just one footless pantyhose. Now we're in swim. We've created bras that are amazing. They're called Braleluya. If you haven't tried it, I hope you will. It's become my favorite product. And men's. We've done so many things with Spanx, and it has exceeded truly my wildest dreams. I never could have imagined all that had come from this. When I could afford to hire my weaknesses, I did early on. I have a fabulous team and a great CEO. She runs the day-to-day. Anyone who knows and has started a business has had to be every department in the beginning, and you learn very quickly, not good at this, I really like this, and when you can afford to do it, delegate. It's a huge gift to yourself and to your company's success. But the thing that I'm most proud of over the last 10 years is that Spanx has given over $10 million to help women more than just their rears. So, and we've done it in many different ways, and one of them was obviously giving and wanting to support the Edge Connection. It's a fabulous organization. And in doing that, we've helped women with going to college, with their own entrepreneurial businesses. And the thing I like the most about it, that's the most special to me, is that every woman we help gets her very own lucky red backpack. So it's my opportunity to pay it forward, and thank you so much for letting me be here today and speak to you. I think we have a coupon for each one of you, so if you go to Spanx.com, and you have to spell it right or you're going to get a real treat. My mom sent her whole luncheon to the wrong website when I first started out, so SPANX. And there's $25 off any of our garments, and a lot of things on Spanx.com are $30. So you're basically getting to try something for free. If you've never tried it before and you're a woman, I suggest the Power Panties, which is also called the In Power line. It's a little shaper short that will take you through the whole spring and summer. And guys, we have not forgotten about you. We have reinvented and redesigned the man's undershirt. Our thought there was not so much shaping, but how can we make it better? The man's undershirt has been the exact same for 100 years. Nobody's paid any attention to it. It's boxy and bulky under styles and sweaters and dress shirts, so it's more tapered in, it's more streamlined. It's cotton, so it looks and acts just like your regular undershirt, but it's got a little bit of secret power going on around the waist area, which is also giving men a lot of great lower back support. So check it out, Spanx.com. Thank you so much for having me here today, and good luck with your journeys to success.